Hello viewers, welcome to Emmanuel Maths Academy. So in the last video, we introduced the topic variation, where we said that variation is the relationship between two or more quantities, whereby a change in one quantity will bring about a corresponding change in another quantity. We said that if a book costs, if one book costs maybe 20 naira, right? Then two books will cost how much? It will cost what? 40 naira. That's 20 times 2. And 3 books will cost how much? 60 naira. That's this 20 times 3. Right? So this is what we mean by variation, because you can see that the change in this quantity will bring about a change in this other quantity. Right? Then we also looked at the types of variation, direct variation. Right? Now today we'll be looking at another type of variation, which is called inverse variation. Inverse variation simply means it's just like a type of variation that whereby an increase in one quantity will bring about a decrease in the other quantity. Let's assume that in this class now that you like 2 persons are meant to sweep a class in maybe 12 hours. Let's say you have like 2 persons. If they can sweep this class now for like 12 hours, then if I decide to increase the number of persons that will sweep this class, if I increase this into 4 persons, naturally the number of hours which they will use to sweep this class will decrease, right? Let's say it will decrease by 12 hours. We have 6 hours. What if I decide to increase the number of persons again to what? Maybe 8 persons. You can see that the number of hours will also decrease, or maybe we say it will decrease to maybe 3 hours, right? You can see that a change in this quantity, an increase in this quantity, right? This from 2 to 4, 4 to 8 brings about a decrease in this other quantity. This is what we mean by inverse variation, right? So when you are given two variables, A and B, that are you say that A is inversely proportional to B, is expressed as A is inversely proportional to B, right? Where this is the sign of the proportionality, the sign of variation, right? And this is the inverse of the V. From the natural law of indices, you know that the inverse of this, inverse of A is 1 over A, right? Which is the same thing as A power minus 1. From your law, basic law of indices. Is that correct? Now let's look at an example. Now let's look at this question. Example of inverse variation. Let's look at this question. It says, given that y is inversely proportional to x minus 1 square and y equal to 2 when x is equal to 7. A, express y in terms of x. Then B, calculate the value of x when y is equal to 8. Solution. The first statement says, given that y is inversely proportional to this, right? Then it's expressed as what? Y. Say that y is inversely proportional to what? X minus 1 square. X minus 1 square. Now the equation now becomes y equal to k over x minus 1 square. For the equation, you now introduce k, where k is the constant. K is the constant of variation. K, you can just take note of this. K is the constant of variation. Is that correct? Now we say that y is equal to 2 when x is equal to 7, right? Y is equal to 2 when x is equal to 7. Hence, we substitute the value of y and also the value of x here. We have 2 equal to k over what? 7 minus 1 raised to power 2. Is that correct? You now have, okay, now this is equal to what? K over 7 minus 1 will give you 6. 6 raised to power 2 will give you 36. You have k over 36. That means 2 is equal to this, right? Let me write this thing out. You have 2 is equal to k over 36. Now, you now make k the surrogate of the formula. Making k the surrogate of the formula here, you cross multiply, right? You have that your k is equal to 36 times 2, which is equal to what? 72. Am I correct? Now, for the B part, this is A. Expressing y in terms of x is this. This is the A. Now for the B, calculate the value of x when y is equal to 8. Your B, when y is equal to 8, then x is unknown. Is that correct? That means from the equation here, we have that y is equal to k over x minus 1 raised to power 2. Is that correct? This implies that, what's the value of y here? Y is 8 equal to, what's our k? Our k is 72. 72 over what? This, right? You now cross multiply. Is that okay? We cross multiply. We now have that x minus 1 raised to power 2 is equal to what? 72 divided by 8, right? Now let me clean up this place to continue. Let me write this thing out. We have that x minus 1 square equal to 72 over 8, right? Now 72 divided by 8 will give you what? 9. We have 9. Is that correct? Now to eliminate this square, you take the square root of both sides, right? Take square root of both sides. Is that correct? Now taking the square root of both sides, you have that x minus 1 square equal to 9 square root. You now have x minus 1 is equal to what? Square root of 9 will give you 3, right? You now make x the surrogate of the formula. X is equal to what? 3. This will now come to this side. You change to what? Plus, because when the sign of subtraction crosses the sign of equality, changes to plus. We now have that our x is equal to 4. That means our x is equal to 4 when y is equal to 8. As simple as that.